I'm Jeremiah McConan,
I'm Gabriel Ritchie.
and we're back for a Hoop Chat episode. We was just talking, Gabe. I feel like it's been forever since we did one of these.
Yeah, long hiatus.
For real. Been like a
A lot of
month. Been
football on our minds lately.
a lot of football, as you guys would definitely know if you've been listening to the Richie and Echo connection. But today on the Hoop Chat, we have a small forwards list, continuing our little project here of ranking the top 10 positions. Positions, it's funny because positions aren't even a thing anymore, bro.
Isn't it getting weirder and weirder as we go down the list?
When I was like making my all-star team, I was like looking at it and it's like front court player. And then dudes like Jimmy Butler, you don't even know if he's a front court player or a guard. Like it's so weird. Watch in 20 years, I feel like there's just gonna be no positions. It's gonna be combo guard, front court guy.
Yeah.
I don't even fucking know. It's
It's
weird, bro.
cause partly it's cause AAU. Partly it's big men are getting very skilled.
Yeah.
Partly it's AAU, everybody just wants to have the ball in their hands. Everybody brings the ball up. Everybody wants to be, LeBron's not a point guard, but he brings the ball up. So that shit's like disappearing.
Facts.
And then yeah, it's weird because combo guard that used to be like something you don't want to hear. It's like, oh, they're not good at one. They're not good at one thing, you know. They don't
Right.
have their thing. They're just like kind of mediocre at everything. That's kind of what that used to mean.
Yeah. That tweener used to be like derogatory terms in basketball. Now people freaking get horny over them. But this week we're doing our small forward list, top 10 of the 2000s. I mean, would you say this was easier to make in comparison to the other two for the point guard and shooting guard, or harder?
It was much harder down the stretch. Like once you get to like, we'll get into it, but the ends of our lists
Yeah.
are very. It's sort of a crapshoot. No disrespect to the players, obviously. They're in our top tens, but I mean, we'll see what yours looks like. Maybe there's guys I'm forgetting, but some of the guys I could have sneaked in as a small forward I already used as a shooting guard. So
I'm
the end
head.
of this list gets very weird. But the beginning, like I said, the top five on this list is better than any other top five in terms of players and where they rank all time to me in the abundance. I mean, we haven't done. We're probably gonna do small power forwards mixed with centers just because that gets so weird,
Facts.
and there just haven't been that many dominant centers uh, of the 21st century.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm with you, bro. Like, I'll just share my honorable mentions with you now because it might just like you said, it's such a crapshoot. But I had Karan Butler, Grant Hill. Grant Hill was weird. So, because his like, if you're counting, obviously we're doing from the 2000s, but from like 95 to 2000, I think he would have been. If we're counting it from that, he probably would have been like second or third on this list because he was so good before that injury. And then right when I think he got the ankle injury 2001, 2002, when I
Mm,
was looking it up. So it's like, man, I can't include you on a list, even though you had like two really good years in the 2000s. Other
yeah.
dudes were just better. But I had Grant Hill and then two guys that I just had bad memories attached to for some reason: Luau Deng and Rashard Lewis. My other
Forgot
honorable
about Rashard
mentions.
Lewis.
Rashard Lewis, I just feel as if he was always hitting a big shot on the Celtics in the playoffs
Yeah.
when he was with Orlando. And the same with Luau Deng. Luau Deng, sometimes we'll talk about who our Celtic killers are when we're watching a random game. Ish Smith will be on there. I feel like this Luau Deng never missed when he was playing the Celtics. Him and
Yeah.
Ben Gordon. But yeah,
Bro,
those were my.
yeah.
Remember Ben Gordon?
Well, it's crazy you say that because I was just talking to my uncle the other day. Like, the first NBA player I ever met was Luol Deng.
Really?
Yeah, I got his autograph. It was 2006.
Where'd
It
you
was
meet him
after the
at?
Bulls had just beaten the Celtics, I believe.
Oh wow.
Just hanging out in the stands talking to whoever. And yeah, he was nice. Ben
Shout out
Gordon kind of
Lua.
snubbed me.
Ah,
But yeah, Luol Deng.
shame on you,
was
Ben
hot.
Gordon, if you're listening to this, man. Show
And you
love
know
to the
he is.
fans.
And you know
Love,
he is.
of course, of course. Yeah, Luau Deng. I mean, after that Chicago stint, I just remember him for finessing money from the Lakers. Well, he had like 3 years he wasn't
Yeah.
playing, and they was just paying him.
Yeah.
Shout out Luau Deng. What's Who is it? Is that Jalen Rose who makes that joke?
What?
Cashing those checks. Keep cashing those checks in. Is that Jalen Rose?
Yeah, probably. It
Is
sounds like
that?
something he'd say.
Oh man, but yeah, Luol Deng, king of those, king of cash and checks. But all right, let me get into the real list now. Number 10, Gabe, I had Peja I'm not even gonna
Ah,
pronounce this right.
he's a,
Stojakovic.
he's in my honorable mentions.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I
That's
had
all
him
I'll
at
say too.
10.
I'll jump into my list immediately after this
Yeah.
because, like we just said, it's not even that much of an honorable mention. It's like you guys don't belong with the names that appear later on this list. They
Facts.
don't belong near them.
Yeah. Now, 10 through 6. The guy who I have sixth on this list is an interesting, polarizing guy, but 10 through 7, man, you can shuffle those guys with anyone. Like not even on our list probably, and I wouldn't like get mad at you for it. But yeah, I had Peja on. He had a good run with Sacramento, was on some really impactful
Mm.
Sacramento teams. A guy who I think today definitely would strive. Just he stretched the floor, has size, probably use him on defense. He could switch and shit. And yeah, man, just a dude who kind of did his thing. 3 All-Stars. He was an NBA champ on 2011. That Dallas team. That Dallas team, it's so great because it got so much OGs rings who were so good in their prime, but
Yeah,
we're on the losing end.
yeah.
In Page's case on a rigged end, if you
Oh
ask me, a
yeah.
Sacramento fan. But he got the ring. He has an All NBA in 03, 04. It was his best year with Sacramento. But yeah, I had Page at 10. So he was on your honorable mention. Was
Right.
it close for you or
Sort of. Yeah. Yeah, we could say it was close.
okay, all right. So yeah, Page at 10.
It's
9.
that's so weird. It's so weird. But yeah, he was
It's yeah.
2004. He averaged 24 points a game, which was impressive. And yeah, the
Yeah.
early 2000s, 3 straight All Star appearances.
Yeah, like he made his due. So yeah, he's 10. 9, I had Andre Iguodala. I wonder, did he make your list?
I wasn't he. I think I put him as a.
Did you have him as a shooting
I might
guard?
have mentioned him as a shooting guard last time, which is why I didn't put him on this list. But if we are putting him on this list,
I mean, he's not like a strong 9 for me. I think because when I
oh,
was looking at it, it looked like he had played like most of his career at the small forward position.
yeah,
But try because he was a small forward. It's so weird. See, this goes back to how we started this pod with this positionless shit. Because
I'll throw him in there. I'll throw him on my list.
On Golden State, he was the small forward, right? When they had the death lineup,
Right,
because
because
Clay
he
was the
guarded
two.
LeBron, and
He held
I'll put him
LeBron
on.
to 37 and got a Finals MVP. But yeah, I counted him as a small forward. I mean, he's an
Right.
all-star, 3-time champ, 2-time all-defensive. I mentioned that Finals MVP. That's that I don't use that as an argument for him. It's honestly it'd be an argument against him if anything, and probably a pro Steph argument that he even got
Yeah.
that. But yeah, I mean, he's been doing it for a long time, and it's funny because he's kind of I think now he's injured with Golden State, but he's been kind of having a positive impact on the team this year when most people probably thought it was the end of
Yeah.
the road for him.
He's never been on a team that sucked, and
Yeah,
that's not a coincidence. Like the
exactly.
early Philly teams, they weren't awful with AI. Then he went to Denver with Melo, and then he was in Golden State, and he even had that year with Miami.
Yeah, right. It's funny too because I think it's not like we have younger listeners. The
We do, we
youngest,
do. We have
or
a
maybe we
few.
do. We might. Yeah, I should not discriminate against anyone at any age. But I was gonna say though, because you brought up Philly Iguodala, I think like some younger listeners or younger people who may have not watched basketball like in the early 2010s probably forget like how good he was offensively. Like he
Yeah.
was the number one guy for a lot of those years in Philly as
Right.
an
He was the
offensive
number one
option.
scoring option,
Yeah. So that I think that landed him number 9 on my list. Number
and a
8.
sick dunk package too. Go watch the '06 dunk
Yes.
contest.
Yes. Great YouTube watch. Number 8, Meta World Peace, who I just found out changed his
Ah,
name to what the fuck is it now? Meta Meta Stanford Artest. So he's
Jesus.
back to Artest. The last name at least is
Yeah.
bad. But On the court, I mean, we all know about how much of a nut this guy is off the court, but on the court, this dude got it done, bro. He was 4-time all defensive. He has a defensive player of the year. He got the championship with the Lakers. He hit that shot. Oh, I'll never forget that shit, man. Because you like those were one of those shots where obviously us as Celtics fan, you knew he was gonna hit that shit too. Because like, of
Yeah.
course, that's how we lose. We're not gonna lose off of Kobe hitting it in two people's face. We're gonna lose off Derek Fisher and Ron Artest,
Yep.
Meta World's Peace hitting that
Mm-hmm.
bullshit. But yeah, man, he was still a good player. Those early years, his heyday was probably in Indiana. You
Right.
know, I was watching that documentary, the Malice in the Palace documentary
Mm-hmm.
that Netflix has out, and it was kind of a look into how good he was back in those Indiana days that I kind of forgot. Not even that I forgot. I didn't watch basketball at that time, so I didn't really know. But you know, doing our diligence, looking back into history and shit, like, yo, this dude was actually another guy offensively. Like, you wouldn't think like Iguodala has the reputation for, you know, being a defensive stalwart or whatever, but offensively, he even had a year in '05. Yeah, he averaged almost 25 a game. And that Indiana team was really good. Of course, the
I
Malice
know.
in the Palace thing. If it wasn't for that, people had them going to the finals, probably
Yeah,
winning
they
the
were the favorite.
championship.
They were the
Yeah.
favorite that year.
But of course, Artest gets suspended for the whole year. Jermaine gets suspended for like half the year. And then, you know, that whole thing went south and he gets traded to Sacramento. But Meta World or Meta Stanford, whatever you want to call him, he's number 8 on my list. He was a pretty good player, really good on defense. And that's kind of what brought him onto this list for me. 7, I had Sean Marion. And
Ah.
not too much to say about him. You know, he was kind of just a good player for a long time. What, he
Yeah, and
played 15 years?
another winning player, another guy who won a ring on that Mavericks team
Right.
and was great in Phoenix, and yeah, he could put up
Yeah.
buckets. Of course, he's got the weirdest jump, weirdest shot ever, the
Weird as
weirdest shooting
shit.
form ever. But yeah, another guy on my list.
Man, I used to hate using him in 2K because of his shot form. Like, it was impossible to time, bro. Like, you had to just tap that shit just to even get it like slightly good release. But yeah, you mentioned it. His Phoenix years was where he made most of his bread and butter in the league.
Yeah,
Had a
where
couple
where he
20
made his
point
bones,
seasons. Facts. So he
and
definitely,
another great dunker on the low.
yeah. Some small forwards, man, they could get
The
up. So
Matrix.
that's a lit ass nickname, the
Yeah, the
Matrix.
Matrix.
I might be top 5. But he's not top 5. He's top 7 as far as small forwards. So yeah, Sean Marion 7th and 6th game. I had Paul George. This is who I said was the most
Okay.
polarizing figure on my list. I mean, he is pretty good as you know, as public as his playoff meltdowns have been, as publicized as they've been. And I feel as if that's kind of partly due to him just having to exist in the social media era. Well, I'm sure there was other dudes before him, probably even on this list, who's had blunders in the playoffs, but they didn't have to deal with all that scrutiny because, you know, obviously there's no social media back then. But when you
Yeah,
kind of step back and look at Paul George's career, like, the dude was pretty good, bro.
for sure. And we've talked about him on this podcast a bunch of times, especially during their playoff run last year. Like, he's really good. He's not a first tier guy. And similar to it goes back like is what people say about these guys that make certain people hate them and take things way too far going in the other direction where
Right.
you call Patrick Mahomes like the future GOAT and it's like no, but he's still really good. You
Right.
call Paul George like, oh, he's top 5 in the league. No, he's not, but he's has he been top 10 a few times in his career? Yes, for sure. And he's been a consistent top 15 player in the league. But that's kind of what happens when certain players get hyped up.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah. No, I agree with you 100%. And because when you look at his career, Indiana, he was so good. You kind
Right.
of thought he was gonna. It honestly looked like he was gonna be the guy to challenge LeBron for some
Yeah,
of those
they were a
seasons.
game away from
Yeah, and
beating
then
them in the conference finals, so a game away from the finals.
I remember that one sequence that it probably surfaces on Twitter at least once a year. But like, he hit that crazy shot, and then he had the dunk on Birdman in that series. It's like, yeah, nah, Paul George, young Paul George in Indiana was that guy. And then he went to OKC, an All NBA that year. It was probably a top 3 MVP candidate that year. And then, of course, he had the Clippers run where it was kind of disappointing that first season, obviously. But I think he kind of made up for it with last year's playoff run when Kawhi went out. I don't know if
Yeah.
you agree.
No, I do.
Very,
He revitalized his career. There was a few moments in that series where it got scary, but he pulled through.
nah, he did. He had
He
some big
pulled through.
halves. Yeah. So shout out PG-13. He's number 6 on my list. And Gabe, I will pass it to you now for your 10 through 6.
Okay, so I'm making a small correction to my list. I initially had Giannis as the small forward,
Oh, okay. Interesting.
and look at his. Speaking of positionless players, look at his basketball reference: position, power forward, small forward, point guard, and
See,
shooting guard.
that's insane, bro. What?
And he's definitely played center at some point too. Like
For
that's just every
sure.
position. But he's definitely more of a big man, I'd say, and I'm gonna take him off of my list.
Okay.
Um, so you'll see him in the next list. But I'll get it going right now. Let's pull up his basketball reference. A guy that might not be on your list, honestly, because you never mentioned him, but I'm throwing him on there.
Ooh.
I think this guy had bigger moments than a Peja Stojakovic and uh, had more of an impact on his team than a Ron Artest at times, and that's Chris Middleton.
Hmm.
NBA
Okay.
champion, second best guy on an NBA championship team, a two-time All-Star. He will be an All-Star more times in his career, and a certified Celtic killer, as you know. And
Facts.
just the past few years, almost 20 a game every year, going back to 2018 or 2017, 2016. So he's been getting buckets for a long time now. I think he's an underrated defender. I think he's a good all on ball defender. And he's hit some big shots himself. And really is like, no disrespect to him. It's sort of like a dollar store Kobe, some of the stuff he can do, I feel.
Yeah,
Where it's not as talented, not as fast, not as athletic, but got a really sweet jump shot, can get to the
I
rim, nice
I agree.
moves, nice turnaround J. I'm a fan of Chris Middleton.
No, I agree with you. His half court game with the kind of art, the bag that he has, the arsenal that he has when it comes to like the left turnaround, right turnaround, it's actually kind of deep. I don't know, man. I just, he's been kind of disappointing this season. I think
Yeah,
a lot
yeah.
of championship equity is kind of carrying his name. I kind of think that's why he got the All-Star this year because I didn't think he deserved it. But no, you're
Mm.
right. He does have the championship, and like I probably I don't know if I would put him on my top 10, but he's worth an honorable mention. Like you could mix him in with some of those guys, at least on my end. But
Yeah.
so he's okay,
He's
okay. I can't be
he's
mad at
10.
that. He's 10. Yeah, I can't be mad.
Yeah. My number 9, Sean Marion.
Mm,
Of course, he had his prime in Phoenix where he was averaging around 20 points a game every. But he's always been he's always been a winning player, and it was nice in 2011 to see it come to fruition. And I won't spend too much more time on him because we already covered him with you. My number 8 is Grant Hill,
okay.
who is in your honorable mentions, I believe.
Yeah.
He just made my list because despite the injuries and shit, he's still like he's a Hall of Famer.
Right.
He's the first Hall of Famer I've mentioned so far. He's the 5-time All NBA, which is more than a guy I have. I'm pretty sure it's more than a guy I have in the top 5, and I'm sure you have him in your top 5 too. 7-time All Star, Rookie of the Year. Um, Another guy who contributed to a lot of winning teams, and of course, he's like the first guy people mention when you talk about what could have been with injuries.
Yeah.
They
Facts.
really had him extreme high hopes for him, so I'm gonna factor that in just a little bit.
Dudes were calling him like the next MJ, bro.
Right,
The
right.
OGs when you hear them talk about it. Yeah, with Grant Hill, what kind of has like made me hesitant to put him on my top 10 was because I just thought he did most of his damage like late 90s. But
Mm,
honestly, the early 2000s, he still has 2 All-Stars. He still has a couple, really good seasons where
mm,
it's
right.
up there with some of the guys,
I
Peja and
feel you
Ron
on that.
Artest. So
Yeah,
can't be mad at that either. Definitely a guy worth mentioning when we talk about small forwards of the 2000s.
right. My number 7 is Andre Iguodala, 3-time NBA champ. 2-time All Defensive, a 1-time All Star, and yeah, we don't need to spend more time on him either, but obviously a major part of one of the greatest teams, greatest dynasties we've ever seen.
Facts. Yeah.
And he has a lot to do with it. And you know he isn't just a lucky guy who was along for the ride. Of course, he got the Finals MVP, which we disagree with, but nonetheless, the fact that you're even being considered for that is an impressive feat compared to the other guys on this list. And then he leaves Golden State, goes to Miami, and they immediately make the finals.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my number 7, and my number 6 is Paul George,
Okay. Nice.
who we sort of just mentioned. Let me go through some Paul George stats real quick. I'll just lead off. I'll read off his accomplishments, and then we can get to our top 5 because we sort of did our Paul George spiel. 7-time All Star, Steals champ in 2019, 6-time All NBA,
Mm.
4-time All Defensive, in 2013 Most Improved.
That's quite a resume, to be honest, for a guy who's not
Yeah.
done yet.
Right, right. Of course, he's probably done for the season. He's listed at 6'8". He might be even taller than that.
Yeah.
He's always been an impressive physical specimen to
Yeah.
add to all this. Yeah.
I mean, he's a dude sometimes where he'll be the best guy on the court with a Kawhi Leonard or LeBron James. I just remember some of those LA. It's so funny that battle LA lasted what, a year, half a season. That rivalry that everyone was so excited about. But I just remember some of those games and some other games where there'll be a all-time guy on the court, and Paul George will be the best player that night. So yeah, a little giving us giving PG his flowers here, but he deserves it. All right, now we get into the good stuff.
Now it gets
Top
fun.
5.
Now it gets fun.
Yeah, now it gets really fun. So we want to go back, and so I'm gonna give my
Yeah,
5,
you can go and then I'll go.
and then
They
cool.
scored, and then we scored.
All right, so number 5, I have Mr. Carmelo Anthony.
All right, me too.
Okay, cool. So I mean,
We're gonna have the same list.
we probably are gonna have the same top 5, I bet. But yeah, man, Melo is just buckets, bro. Pure buckets. Yeah. I mean, go ahead. You can.
I mean, one of the best scorers of all time. A member, and you know it gets real when we start listing off 75th anniversary team members. Now you know it's getting real.
Yeah.
A member of the 75th anniversary team, 6-time All-NBA, a scoring champ in 2013, and I believe that same year he came in second in MVP voting behind LeBron, who had like an insane year.
Right.
Of course, he's had some legendary games, dropping over 60, and yeah, he's blossomed into a pretty decent role player later in his career. But of course, yeah, in his prime, one of the best scorers you've ever seen.
Seriously, his footwork, man, when it came to those, like the way he used to work that baseline, man, it was impeccable. And like you mentioned, when you're on a 75th anniversary team, that clearly means that you've done a lot of great things in this league. 6-time All-Star, scoring champ, like you mentioned, 10-time All-Star. I mean, his career average in points is 22.6. That's not easy. To average over 20 for a career is not as easy as people would think. But yeah, man, shout out Melo. And like you mentioned, the way that he was able to sort of put his ego aside and evolve into this role player that's still impactful, I think has been just as impressive as all the All-Stars and all the great things he did in Denver and New York. So
yeah, because at first that was a criticism we had of him, like, bro,
in
hang
OKC,
it up. You're not going to be starting anymore. Not on any good teams. But he changed his ways, which I respect. Yeah. And he's respected by his peers, which means something too.
Right. Hopefully he can whisper into the ear of Westbrook and kind of tell him to, like, hey, man, the end of the road, it comes for all of us. Because it seems like Russ is having a hard time accepting that. But yeah, Melo 5. All right, so cool. We agree on that. I bet we're going to agree on 4 then.
I feel like we're going to agree on the rest of this list.
Probably. So number 4.
Unless you get super biased with number 1. Because I know who my number 2 is.
But number 4 is Paul Pierce. I'm sure that's yours.
For sure. Yes.
Yeah,
another Hall of Famer, another All 75 team member, a 10-time All-Star, 4-time All-NBA, and a legitimate NBA Finals MVP. And they're a few injuries away, which I will say every time. a member of the 2008 through 12 Celtics come up. They're a few injuries away from three-peating, really, when you really
Yeah.
think about the way everything broke for them. But yeah, Pierce was another great scorer and one of the most clutch players you'll ever see. And I'm not just talking about like top 20 clutch. Like he's really probably top 10 clutchest
Yeah.
players I've ever seen. He
Shit. Maybe
always
even top five, bro.
it felt like he literally always came through
Hmm.
when it mattered most.
Yes.
And in this day and age too, this is sort of a weird spiel, but back in the day, like in the 80s, there was no, zero point 0.5 seconds left on the clock. The clock would just tick to zero. Where these days, I feel like there's
It's a good
never any more
point.
buzzer beaters. It's always like, oh, you hit it with point 0.3.
Yeah, that's a good
That'll just
point.
about do it, which is lame, right?
Right. It really
But
is.
Pierce, even in this day and age, he would get buzzer beaters at the buzzer. The crowd would
Yeah.
erupt. It was just so fun to watch. And he has a great ISO player and pretty selfless too. And
Mhm.
another guy who the last few years were bleak, and people seem to just remember that Pierce for some reason, which is really annoying.
Yeah.
But before that, he like Melo, he found himself becoming a good role player. Like on Washington, like he was even a better role player than Melo is really. Like the
Didn't
dude was
he
hitting
hit a
big
game winner,
shots.
right?
Yeah, he was ending series. He was blocking
Yeah.
shots to win series.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. And
Just a
also,
gamer.
yeah, just a gamer and also one of my favorite athletes of all time. Us being Celtics fans and had the pleasure to meet him a couple times. And yeah,
Yeah.
great guy, great. Has had some wacky moments post retirement, but truly
Mhm.
love Paul Pierce, and it's a testament to him when you see him mentioned with this top five.
Exactly. Yeah, I obviously agree with everything you said, share all the same sentiments. I mean, he's a guy who kind of before, as my mic almost falls for the third time, but he's kind of a guy who challenged a young LeBron, sure, but still, I mean, LeBron at 20 was probably
Yeah,
really a top 20 guy all the time. He just didn't have the accolades yet. But a dude who challenged LeBron in those early Cleveland
beat him
years,
twice.
beat him twice, like you said, has a legit Finals MVP against Kobe, another all-time great.
Yeah,
It's like it goes under the radar sometimes of how good the competition was around him at the positions like those
the East
shooting
was
guards,
good.
small
Yes,
forwards. Like, there's a
yes. Which
lot of good
which which
players.
is why there's a lack of all NBAs.
Exactly. Yes. Good
Right.
point.
And it's not just even before the big three showed up. He was a great player by himself.
Yeah.
They weren't a shit show really. Like they had some rough years, but they weren't a shit show in you know
He
his
didn't
younger
really have a
years.
good
Oh
team.
two, oh two through like oh 04. Like they're making conference final. They're making some playoff pushes with him and Antoine Walker in a pretty good Eastern Conference. So like the dude, even before the big three showed up, he wasn't. It wasn't like a joke of a playoff career.
Right.
But with
Yeah.
that help, with those actually finally being on a legitimate team, you could see what he could do in the biggest of moments.
Yeah. No, that's important to mention that before the big three, it's not like he was losing every year and having their team in the lottery. Because if that was the case, he probably
Right.
wouldn't be on
Because
this
oh
list.
07, right. Oh 07, he tore his ACL. He was out that whole year, basically. Oh 06, he was an all-star. They had a rough year. I think they only won 33 games. But then before that, they're in the playoffs every year, basically.
Right. And what year was it when he got stabbed 9 times in the back? Was that 05?
No, that was earlier. That was
Or that
like
might have been it.
2001, I think.
Oh, that was
Let me look
earlier.
that up. But right, he gets stabbed. He almost dies, and he comes back
Yeah.
and
Plays the whole season. I think he gets an all-star too that year. Yeah, but
Pierce.
yeah, as you look that up, I'll add a few more Pierce points. And you mentioned this earlier, but yeah, should have won 3
2000.
rings. It was two. Okay, so it was like he just got drafted almost, and that happened. Wow. But yeah, man, he
And he
one
played all
ring.
82 games after that.
Yeah, that's impressive, bro. Like he literally almost died. They got one ring. It feels like it should be 2 or 3, but like you mentioned, I was honestly just the injury luck striking the Celtics at the worst possible time.
Right.
But Pierce is just such a gamer, bro, and he's very much deserving to be on this list. So, any last Pierce thoughts that you had?
No, we can keep it pushing. That was
Okay,
fun, though.
it was, yeah, no, it really was. So number three, I have the Claw, Kawhi Leonard.
Yes. Yes.
I'm sure you agree. And I mean, this guy's just what a career arc for him. He goes from being in a draft day trade to kind of being a no one. You didn't really even know about him to all of a sudden he's guarding LeBron in the finals at 22. And then you blink again, he's a finals MVP. And then you blink again,
Seriously,
he's like a top 25 guy all time. It all happened so fast.
Out of him. He's got like all these accolades and like barely plays basketball.
Right. Which tells you how actually like how good this dude really is. But yeah, man, tell the people how good Kawhi is.
I mean, bro, we were talking about him last year. Of course they don't. He gets hurt again.
Mm-hmm.
Which is again, he gets hurt all the time, yet he still has racked up enough to be considered. Even if he retired today, you can't tell me he's not top like 40 all time. Right. With these accolades. 5-time All-Star, 5-time All-NBA, 2 times Final MVP. I think the year Westbrook wins the MVP, Kawhi was the best basketball player that year. You could see it even, he takes the greatest team of all time, the 2017 Warriors. They're down by like 25, and Kawhi, that ends the season right there. And then Kawhi, as soon as Kawhi got hurt, Golden State came back. I'm not saying the Spurs were going to win that series. I'm just saying they were not the Golden State was not winning that game. If Kawhi stays healthy, at least.
That series probably wouldn't have been a cakewalk. Like Golden State probably wins, but it would have been a battle.
Right, exactly. And that wasn't a great San Antonio roster, as you've seen since Kawhi has left. 2-time Defensive Player of the Year, All-Star MVP 2020, 7-time All-Defensive, 2-time NBA champ, Steals champ in 2015. And yeah, I think he was the best player in the year 2017, and just some Tom Brady shit, showing up to Toronto and immediately winning them a championship, and then it's over.
Right.
Like they have to forever be grateful, and
they love him too still.
They love him still. I remember at the parade, he's like, this championship is gonna be something you guys can build off of. Like already like giving hints like I'm out of here.
No, he actually has some all-time quotes. I remember it might have been after the parade too. Or no, it was before the parade. It had to have been because the way the question was framed. But it was like, Kawhi, what do you think a championship will mean to the city of Toronto? He goes, I don't know. You kind of have to go ask them. Like, just so real, bro. It keeps it 100. Yeah. Sometimes too real. Like it's awkwardly real, but
right. And Kawhi's definitely one of my favorite players to watch. Yes. As you know, like the past like 5 years. And we were talking about him last year. I mean, I came on here, I defended him in the Clippers. Like, the Mavericks get the better of them at first, and the Mavericks are up 2-0, right? Yeah, and I'm like, I don't know. Yeah. I feel like the Clippers aren't out of this. Like, at the end of the day, yeah, Luka's great, but this is Kawhi Leonard. Mm-hmm. It's not just Paul George. This isn't. Who can I mention here?
It's not like
this isn't Bradley Beal. This isn't Bradley Beal. This is Kawhi Leonard. Like this dude's a baller, and then Kawhi comes out and just forces it the rest of the series, including Game 7.
Man, that Game 6 he had against Dallas, where I have to say, obviously I didn't watch Jordan in his heyday and shit like that, but the two-way game that Kawhi played in that Game 6. In Dallas, where it looked like Luka was going to finish them off. It's one of the greatest performances I've ever seen in the playoffs, to be honest. And then Game 7, he kind of just carried it on. But that Game 6, man, remember those shots he was hitting?
Yeah.
Those back threes?
I'm happy you say this. Yeah, because he does remind me of Jordan.
Yeah.
And Kellerman, I remember Kellerman saying Kawhi's clutcher than Kobe. I think he is. I think he's had more clutch moments than Kobe Bryant. Is he higher on my all-time list than Kobe Bryant? No, he's not close right now. But he's had massive moments. And I'm not just talking about that incredible shot versus Philadelphia, which I showed you that video the other day of the Philadelphia fans reacting to that shot. And the dad just lost everything on that game.
I seen a comment. It was like, because everyone was going berserk, babies are crying and shit, and the dad's just sitting down, not even moving. Yeah. Comment goes, you know for sure the dad is the maddest one in that room right now.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, that was
But
crazy.
yeah, he's just got a crazy resume, and
Not done either. Another
he's not
guy.
done yet. But we'll see where he goes from here. Of course, we really know who he is as a person? I'm not sure. Because,
Yeah, I
the
don't think
leaving your
anyone
team in the
does.
dark, not a fan of that. I'm not a fan of the leaving your team in the dark and everything.
Right.
All the off-season stuff, not a fan of. I say off-season stuff like he's out doing cocaine. I just
No,
mean
I
like
get you
not
though.
informing your team like what your future plans with that team is. It's not,
Right.
you're hurting them. You're not giving them a chance to build.
Mhm.
But yeah, I do love Kawhi the player, and he's very high on my all-time list. I think I have him at like 22 right now.
Yeah, he's definitely in my top 25, I would say,
Right.
right now. But yeah, man, you said all that, all the things that had to be said about him. He's just a killer. It really is Jordan-esque. Sometimes the way he operates in that mid range, where it's just so money. He puts that shoulder in and he turns around. And
Yeah.
like the shot mechanics aren't beautiful. It's not a Carmelo release or like a Clay release or even like a Durant, but it always goes in for some
Yeah.
reason. Like
He's
he's
just
so good.
great fundamentals and underrated athlete. Like underrated. Of
Yeah.
course, he has massive hands. That's why
He's
he's the
got some
claw. But
bangs,
bro can fly. The
bro.
dude can fly.
What was it last year when he was it Maxi Kleber who was on the receiving end of a crucifixion?
Yeah. 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 It's
Yeah.
always the white guy.
Nah, shout out
It's always a
Maxi
white guy
Kleber.
if it's not Jason Terry. But but yeah,
Nah, Kawhi's a beast, man. I hope we get to see him again. What do you think?
this year,
Nerf gun to your head. Because I don't like saying Nerf. I think about like that's so
Nerf gun to
dark.
my head.
Yeah, Nerf gun to your head. Does Kawhi play this year? Does he come back? Do we see him?
No, no,
No. Hmm.
you don't see Paul George either.
It's weird because they're ninth right now in the West. It's not like they're
Teach.
out. Jeez.
Mm. Whoop. What?
Damn. It's interesting that you say that though, because they're ninth in the West right now. I would probably get the Nerf guns right through my brains because I couldn't even give you a good answer right
That's
now.
not how Nerf guns work, bro. What kind of Nerf guns? What kind of Nerf gun do you use? Like the Nerf bullet's gonna fly through your
So
head.
fucking the bullet is a stand. It just goes through my
Oh right, yeah,
skin
that
and it
would be a stand.
explodes. Like yeah, I guess that'd be the only way that would logically happen, right? But I don't know, man. Damn. So you think he doesn't come back this year? That
And
would
I don't think the
suck.
Clippers need them. They don't need them. They have Reggie Jackson.
That's true. They got Marcus Morris, Brandon Boston Jr. They kind of figured it out. I mean, I hope he comes back though, because they're ninth in the West. It would just be so cool if the Clippers come back as a play-in team. They
Mm.
who knows, they beat the Lakers maybe, and then Kawhi just goes on this run. Like, man, I kind of want
I'd
to
love
see
to
him go
see
on a
it.
Clippers run. I think a Clippers run is due for him.
If he can play, I think that's the perfect thing for him.
Right.
Like, why wouldn't you want to? You have nothing to lose if you come back.
Right. That's
Because
what
if
I'm
you come
saying.
back and you lose in the play, it's like, you just came back. But if you go on a run,
Now it's here we
years
go.
from now, we're just going to remember the run. We're not going to remember that you. I mean, we'll probably remember, but most people aren't going to remember that you didn't play the whole year.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, and I agree with you 100% on that. So yeah, I hope we get to see him this year. Shall we move into our top two? Maybe I have a surprise for you.
No, you don't.
I don't. You know that commercial? You know that commercial with I guess it's an iPhone commercial, but it's the two guys sitting in the car and the dude in the passenger seat. They're talking,
Where it's
whatever.
like a movie? They're talking
Yeah,
about. Yes,
yeah.
bro.
And the dude in the driver's seat's like, he's like, yeah, the camera focuses on the main character or whatever.
Yes. Yes.
And
I
then the
love
dude
this
in the
commercial.
passenger is like, oh, what if I'm the killer? And then it focuses on him for a second.
Yeah.
And he's like, are you? It's like, no. And it zooms
Yeah.
out. That was basically me just now. Durant's
Maybe I
not
have a
number
surprise
one.
for you.
Durant is number one, but he's definitely number two. I mean, I could obviously go for an hour on this guy, Gabe. But I'll keep it short. I'll keep it as short and simple as I can. Just
This is definitely going on. Kyle, turn the camera on.
turn the camera on, Kyle.
Definitely going on social media.
I mean, it's just I get hard eyes when I watch him play basketball, man. The guy's so freaking good. Talent wise, he's probably as great as they are. I put him up there with Jordan as far as just what he can do on the court offensively. I always say this. I always say this. I always say this. He's very underrated defender, man. I think
Yeah, for
people really
sure,
forget
for
about that.
sure.
Like on Golden State, he was their rim protector.
Mm.
Brooklyn, he was their rim protectors. I mean, Brooklyn, he was everything. He's their fucking the whole damn organization. I mean, you see, he's out now. They go what 2-9, and Harden.
Isn't it
Not even gonna
disgraceful?
get into
Just get
that.
off track a little bit. How
Yeah,
bad Brooklyn's been,
you
even though
know,
they have Kyrie Irving and James Harden playing right now.
and it's probably one of the flaws when it comes to Durant. We're
I,
judging this
I
this
said I said
list.
that I said
Yeah,
that to you on Twitter earlier. I said amazing player, not a great judge of character.
you're right. You're right about that. When it comes to at least teammates, like when it
Right,
comes to teammates
right,
and shit,
yeah.
I mean, Harden is, oh man, I don't even want to get into this game because it's gonna get dark, and I want to keep this lighthearted. But you're right; it's a shame how bad Brooklyn has been, and the guy who should be most ashamed of himself, Kyrie, whatever, he's a fucking nut. We already knew that. Harden, you're fucking pathetic, bro. If you're listening to this, you're a fucking joke. Like you're such a joke, bro. Oh my god. I didn't see. I didn't want to do this. I didn't want to do this.
Well, I like that you say like Kyrie, even though he's putting his team in a massive disadvantage, not playing half the games. Don't
Right.
even don't even try to make him feel good. Like that guy cannot feel. He doesn't possess that trait of like
Yeah.
feeling bad about
Yeah. He doesn't.
something
Yeah.
he's done.
It's
He
meaningless to
doesn't
him.
have yeah.
Yeah. But it's funny though, because at least Kyrie is he'll part time or not. When he's on the court, he'll play hard. Like he plays with effort. He's 25, 5-5, and he dude hasn't played in over a year. Harden, like,
What a guy.
yeah, awesome
I'm
guy.
just kidding.
What
I'm
a
just I
just a
mean a
fucking
dickhead.
saint. Nah, I'm following you. But
What a gamer.
Harden,
That guy would never
man.
give up on a team.
There's this montage on Twitter of Harden in that Sacramento game. I'll send it to you after. It's actually disgusting, bro. Like if you're a fan of basketball and not even okay, not even if you're a fan of basketball, man, we really got sidetracked, but I have to get this off my chest. Not even if you're a fan of basketball, if you're a fan of effort and hard work and like being an honorable human being, and you see what Harden did in that Sacramento game on Thursday, I think, or Wednesday, whatever the fuck it was.
People are gonna think people right now are thinking Harden pulled down his pants and the other one just started masturbating.
I know. But I mean, he was a step away from that, honestly. When you see how
Really?
bad he was, bro, it was disgusting. And let me bring this back because it highlights how great Kevin Durant is. Because you take him off, you throw him on the team, they're the 1 seed. You take them off, they're the fucking 6 seed, and they might be in the play-in. So it goes back to why this guy's an all-timer, of course. He's the greatest scorer that I think has ever played this game. And yeah, he's daddy KD. So I'll let you. I won't go too deep into it. I kind of got sidetracked with Brooklyn.
No, I mean this is your guy. Like
I want
this
him
is
to.
your
Yeah,
well,
go ahead.
AD just threw down a crazy putback.
I seen the walk back.
This is your guy. Like if you want to keep going, be my guest.
Yeah, I mean, no, there's not too much to add because I'm sure I've said this a million
For
times
those
on
of
different
you listening
episodes.
right now, Jeremiah is completely naked.
I'm just butt naked, jerking. But yeah, man, the dude, his game. He's a guy like the resume. You can get into debates on that. That can go on for hours. The Golden State move. We can get into debates on that for hours. But he's a guy where you just throw on basketball if you've never watched basketball in your life and you see him play for 5 minutes, and you're like, okay, this guy has to be one of the best at what he does.
Right. All right. And yeah, so I guess I will add a few things because you said most of it. But with Durant, the number one thing when when I want to hype him up, the number one thing that stands out. Some people it's their accolades and their stats, or their shooting percentage and whatnot.
Yeah.
Durant, it is the eye test. It is like, oh, this guy's like, this is the number one guy I'd want right now on the court, 99.9% of the time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he's balls out every time. Any time in his career, he's been completely healthy. He has been a baller. Let me read off his accolades, anyways, because
Yes.
I've done it for everybody else. 11-time All-Star, 4-time scoring champ,
Should be like 6, honestly, but
which is crazy.
yeah.
2-time NBA champ, 9-time All-NBA, which is crazy. 2-time All-Star MVP, 75th anniversary team member, obviously.
Right.
2014 MVP, Rookie of the Year in 2008, 2-time Finals MVP, 2-time NBA champ. Um, and yeah, again, great two-way player. One of the best players I've ever seen. My only critique, like I said, it's the people he chooses to play with, and then the lay off KD and blah blah blah, and he continues to put himself in situations where it's like obviously people are gonna have an issue with this.
Yeah.
Where like I don't know. Look at any other team beside. Look at the Suns. They're winning a bunch of games right now, and it's just Chris Paul and like a bunch of guys who are good at basketball. It's not like, all right, let's get together here and get a bunch of all stars who can all do shit with their hands. Like that's just gonna garner. It happened in Golden State, and now it's happening in Brooklyn, and obviously in Brooklyn, it's kind of can you really say much the way they look without him anymore?
Yeah.
No, but I'm just saying that's my thing where it's like his reaction to some of the criticism, like you should expect it, whether it's warranted or not. But again, yeah, obviously KD's amazing and yeah,
Yeah. I mean,
he's climbing on my list. I hope he can come back
yeah.
this year, and I'd love to see what he can do the rest of the year. And another thing, I hate that he has Harden, and I've said this to you. I hate that he has Harden and Kyrie on his team because I don't like rooting for those guys, but I do like rooting for KD.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the depressing part.
He's his own worst enemy sometimes.
Yeah.
Durant is. Yeah, man. You kind of you said something a little interesting there. What how he might rise on because right now, I think I might have to have him. Oh, man, I won't put him top 10 yet. I'll still leave him right outside the door. He needs to do something with Brooklyn to
I should have
break
this
through.
list. I should have this list written on my
The all
phone. So I
time.
can just yeah.
I have it in some Google Doc somewhere. But this chapter that he's in the midst of right now in Brooklyn is gonna really tell us a lot of how like where he ends up as far as an all-time guy in this league. Because like you said, eye test, we already said this, but second to none. But man, this Brooklyn thing, they have to figure this out. Whether he has to talk to ownership and have to make some moves or something. Because if this is just gonna end with 4 years of you don't know what the fuck's going on and Kyrie's in and out and Harden might not even be on the team in a few weeks, which we'll talk about that on Monday or whenever we come back on for
Right.
because there's a lot to talk about with all those trade rumors. But
Mm-hmm.
this thing, how it ends with Brooklyn is gonna really say a lot about where he sits at the end of his career as far as legacy standings. Because
Mm-hmm.
he's obviously had a great run in OKC, and I'm glad people are seeing how egregious Westbrook is as a teammate. Because Durant had to deal with that shit for 9 years.
It's
Bro.
so fucking annoying though, because we've been saying this forever, and now it's like cool to shit on Westbrook, but it's like
I know.
we were
Isn't that
douchebags when we
funny?
talked about it years ago.
It's because once Los Angeles media got involved, now it's like, oh, it's the word is gold. It's like, bro,
Now that
this
it's
shit is not
affecting
needed.
LeBron.
Exactly.
Now that it's
Yeah.
affecting LeBron.
Yeah. That's where it really matters. But yeah, bro, the dude had to deal with Westbrook for 9 years. Was on some great OKC teams. Golden State, that move. I hear the argument on how it lessens or the rings kind of aren't
I
weighted
don't.
as heavily, and it makes sense. I don't
Right.
get mad at that.
Doesn't
But
lessen.
doesn't lessen, but it's not as
Doesn't
strong as
increase.
like
Yeah. It's not
Dirk
Kawhi's.
2011
Yeah.
or something like that. But he was still really great. Like on a team with Steph
Mm-hmm.
Curry, he was still the best guy. And there was
Yeah.
some games in that Cleveland series where Durant was just so fucking
Right.
ice cold.
Yeah.
But
And Cleveland was stacked too. You know.
exactly. So we'll see how this Brooklyn story goes. He obviously had that insane playoff run that just added another, sparkle on his legacy. But
Which
this
again,
has
the
to
eye
end
test.
well. Right.
Because if you say, "Oh, KD lost in the second round,"
Mhm.
it's like that adds nothing to his legacy. But if you saw the series, then you're like, "Oh shit, okay."
And it's crazy. Like people who watch this series and say they rather have Giannis over Durant after watching that series, that just fucking befuddles
My
me.
only thing with that is Giannis. It really feels like he took a step up in the finals. Like I feel like the
That's
Giannis in the
true.
finals is a different Giannis that as
Then the one in
Randall
the Brooklyn series.
throws it down than the one in the Brooklyn series.
Yeah, no, I hear you on that. He definitely. I mean, when you score 50 and whatever that free throw number was in the finals, that yeah, you're just on a different level.
Yeah.
But
But I agree. I'd still take Durant over a healthy Durant for sure, you know?
exactly. Yeah, and
But
that's another thing.
that's where it lies.
Yeah,
That's the question.
yeah, because
Because
he's
Giannis
out
is
right
the
now.
Terminator. Giannis, you are guaranteed
Yeah.
82 games, really.
Honestly, that health. When you think of Durant, you don't think as health being like such a big thing with him outside of the Achilles injury. But I mean, there was a year in OKC, a foot that kind of knocked out. Because when you mentioned he had 4 scoring touchdowns, I'm like, he probably should have 6. Because there was a year in OKC where he was out for like 30 games. This year, he's the scoring leader, but he's probably not going to get it because he probably wouldn't have played enough games.
Mm.
Similar situation last season. Like, he has these moments throughout the year where it's like this little injury and it's like, boom, 4 weeks, 6 weeks gone. And like, it might not mean too much in the moment, but when you step back and look at like the bigger picture, it's like, man, these are like some all NBA MVP scoring titles at stakes when you miss like a month or two every other season. And it's kind of been the deal with Durant, but he's so good, man. And the only reason he's not number one on this list is because the other guy on this list is a
Yeah.
fucking nut. And
Right.
that's obviously LeBron James, who's playing right now, who's back after a
Who's
5 game
just scored a
absence.
bucket as we speak.
Yeah, I mean, what have people not heard about LeBron that we can say? I don't know, but
We
he's
went on
obviously
quite a bit during
right.
our top 50. You know, the 3 hour super pod like that. We spent like 20 minutes talking about LeBron alone.
Mhm.
I guess I should go through his accolades.
Yeah, let's hear it.
What is this, year 19 or 18 for him?
Might be 19, I think, which is
Jesus Christ.
insane, bro. That is
0304.
that's
0304 is his
phenomenal.
first year, and we're in 2021 to 2.
So
I think
19,
it's year
yeah.
18.
Or is that would that be 18?
Yeah. He's a 17-time All-Star. Yeah, never missed the All-Star game. Oh, wait, no. This might be, yeah, this is year 19.
Anything over 17 years at this level is just fucking stupid.
He didn't get the All-Star game in 2004, which
Was
is
that
crazy.
his second
His
year?
rookie year, he's not an All-Star, even though he scored 21 points a game.
Did he get it his second year? He must have,
Yeah, he
right?
was in ever since. Yeah, it's like
After that,
05 on. He's in the All Star game every year. Uh, just his numbers are stupid, so stupid. I'm not even gonna
yeah.
get into them. 17-time All Star, 4-time NBA champion, Rookie of the Year, 4-time MVP, 2008 scoring champ, 17-time All NBA, 4 times Finals MVP, 6-time All Defensive, 2020 assist champion.
Jesus.
And he's on the 75 team. Obviously, he'd be on the 2 team, really.
And yeah, I was gonna
Like
say he's number
top
2
2
on
all
both our
time.
lists, right?
Right. So like, I was thinking about LeBron earlier, actually,
Okay.
and people have said this before, so this isn't a new take by me or anything, but the pressure that was on him coming out of high school, in the highest of high hopes, and he exceeded them.
Yeah.
It's just crazy. He's the only person I can think of. AD's having a dunk contest today.
Yeah,
He's the only
man.
person I can think of who's like that ever
Yeah.
in anything,
Because
not just
Brady
sports.
was a
Because
sixth round pick, as great as he
nope,
was.
exactly. Brady and even Jordan, like Jordan, it was like, oh, this guy's gonna be the greatest basketball player of all
Yeah.
time.
Didn't even go number 1 in his own draft.
Right. And then LeBron comes in and then it's like, this guy's the second coming. This guy's this guy's that. He's an absolute celebrity in high school. And he delivered.
And the way
Out
he's
of high school.
handled that pressure off the court,
Right.
again, this isn't on the court list, but that has to be mentioned too. At 17 years old, you get all that pressure, all those TVs, cameras, magazines, all that shit. Never have an off the court or off the court issue, no scandal, nothing like that.
Right.
Just an impressive guy through and through.
Right. Because the worst thing we can say about him is like, you know, the LeBron media mafia,
Yeah, the
which is out
decision,
there. The decision and the corniness, like the corny shit he'll say sometimes,
the Instagram
and the stuff he'll
captions.
say, yeah, the Instagram captions and the egotistical stuff he'll say, where it's like you're just saying this to back your own legacy and whatnot.
Right.
Like he's super concerned with his legacy, which I get it. At this point, you've done all this, and then there's so many people saying you're not the best player of all time, which I don't think he is.
Mhm.
I'm sorry. I mean, go
He's
watch The
not.
Last Dance. We didn't think that.
Yeah.
We thought this before The Last Dance. The
Yeah,
Last Dance didn't
exactly.
change our mind about anything. But watched the gap between Jordan and everybody else was so much greater than it is with LeBron. Where LeBron and we just mentioned KD and Kawhi, and it's like it's always close. It feels like
Yeah.
for the past like 6 years. It's felt like yeah, LeBron's at times it's like yeah, he's the best player in the NBA, but there are certain times in the season when we'll feel like somebody else is. But that
Yeah.
was never the case with Jordan. But I wish I didn't say that because this has nothing to do with Jordan. We're talking about 21st.
Yeah.
To get back to LeBron, we're doing this series of the 20 best point guards, best shooting guards, best small forwards, big men of the
Mhm.
21st century. This is the best player of the 21st century,
100%.
which is pretty crazy. And I mean, there's not much more we could say without getting into hyperbole. Hyperbole. I'm fucking having a stroke. This happens once a podcast now. You know what I mean.
I got you.
There's only so much we can go before we get way too extravagant with LeBron. So give me your thoughts.
Yeah, man. I share all the same sentiments. Obviously, if you guys listen back to our top 50 all time list, we give a more thorough breakdown of LeBron and his greatness. But which is nothing new. This is like common knowledge. But yeah, man, I will say though, I have been impressed with like he's been out the lineup a couple times this year, but I have been impressed because if you remember last year, I did say that he would kind of fall out the top five. And I don't think that I'm like just dead wrong about that because he's not playing every game anymore. He's taking like a week off here and there. And you can't be a top five guy if you're just in and out.
Right.
But when he's in, man, I mean, this dude can still give you 30, 10, and 5, which is ridiculous at his age. So I
Mm.
will say that I didn't expect
His age
like
and miles,
yeah, with that mileage, he's
because
probably
he's
second in minutes all time or some
right,
shit. Like
right,
his
a lot.
ability to still be like to go at that high level on like a random Wednesday or like a random like even tonight, I bet he probably has a triple double or some nut shit already. But John Marion is a fucking nut. Sorry, I just saw a crazy highlight. But
Yo,
yeah,
that's
man,
crazy.
you seen that shit?
Yeah,
They're like doing that once a game, bro.
yeah.
Memphis
They're
is
the
so fun.
Globetrotters.
Jesus, look at this dude, bro. All right, this is not about John Moran.
135.
John Marion will be on this list soon, or he'll be on the point guard list very soon. But back to LeBron, yeah, man, he still can dig into that well when he needs to, which I think is still impressive at age 36, 37, year whatever. So shout out Braun, number one on this list.
Yes, yes.
All right,
No
Gabe.
disagreements really.
Yeah, I mean the top 10 through 6, we didn't have similarities, but
10 through 6 is so goofy that
that's so
it's like
goofy, right? It
we're
doesn't
gonna have
even really
different
matter.
ones, but we're not. I'm not gonna fight you on anything.
Exactly. Yeah. But 1 through 5, I think should be universal if you really watch hoops. So yeah, that wraps up our small forwards of the 21st century, top 10. So what we'll be back for the hoop. God, now I'm mixing up. The Richie and Mecco connection. We'll be back for that. We'll do our NBA trade deadline episode. What else, Gabe? What else do we got going on?
Yeah, just to lay out the next few weeks. Like, so we'll do the trade. This will come out, Jay. You think? So we'll have this out before the trade done. The Richie comes back. The Richie and Mecco connection
Yeah,
comes
yeah.
back.
This will probably be out like tomorrow type shit.
Okay, so this will be out probably before your Monday morning commute or whatever. So listen to us then, and then Wednesday, I believe, and it might drop Thursday.